Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Khraish. I'm the Associate Director of International Programs at Film Independent. And in this capacity, I manage a slate of international programs, and our flagship international program is Global Media Makers. Before we start talking with the filmmakers from South Africa who came to our program in LA, I want to tell you briefly about Film Independent and what the LA residency is all about, and then you'll hear from them firsthand about their experience. But before I do that, let me quickly introduce the filmmakers. You probably know them: Yolanda Jossie, Quinton Fredericks, Khosie Dali, Dominique Jossie, and Imran Hamdulay. Pronunciation's good. Alright, so Film Independent was founded more than 4 decades in Los Angeles by independent filmmakers who were working outside of the studio system, and they wanted to create a network for themselves to help each other make their movies. And from day one, because of a lot of the filmmakers were also people of color, inclusivity was very important to them. And creating programs to support filmmakers from underrepresented communities was part of the mission 40 years ago. One of our first programs that we created is Project Involve, which brought filmmakers from these underrepresented communities for a 1-year mentorship. And some of the alums of this program are Jossie Simmons, Louay, and we have actually an alum with us here today, and then we have a lot of artist development programs and labs that support filmmakers from all over the United States and internationally. But in 2016, we started this partnership with the United States Department of State, Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, where we received this grant to create Global Media Makers that supports international filmmakers in the way we have supported filmmakers in the United States. I'll talk about the different components of the program, but since 2016 we have been working in Asia and North Africa, and last year we started working in the rest of the African continent. So this presentation will help me not miss any points. So yeah, regions. So we started with 5 countries around the Mediterranean in 2016, and slowly we kept adding more countries and more regions. Now we work in South Asia, West Asia, all of Africa, and next year we'll start working in Latin America and in Eastern Europe, specifically with Ukrainian filmmakers. We've had fellows come from more than 20 countries in Asia and Africa so far, including South Africa. Other countries in Africa are Namibia, Angola, Libya, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and Egypt. Okay, the main component of Global Media Makers is the LA residency, which is a 6-week residency, 1 week virtual and 5 weeks in LA, where we bring filmmakers from these regions we are engaged in to LA to work on their films or TV series in development. And let's see what else. Yeah, so we look for projects that are in early development for fiction, so you have to have a script ready, and we'll talk more about that. And with the documentaries, you would have had to have shot some material and have at least 40 minutes assembly cut. Once we select the filmmakers, the projects, then we determine which track this project is going to be in, depending on the filmmaker, their career, where they're at the moment, or the project status. So we have a screenwriting track, we have a producing track for the producers, because sometimes teams can come, like Khosie, Imran, Dominique, and Yolanda, and also actually Quinton came with Jason. So all the teams, all the filmmakers from South Africa actually came as teams. And then we have a directing workshop, and this is usually, not always, for first-time feature filmmakers. And then we have a documentary workshop track. And then sometimes when we have a lot of TV projects in the cohort, then we create what we call it a creative development track, where we have the writer-directors with the producers, whether they're working on a fiction feature or episodic. In addition to coming to LA to workshop your project with US mentors, each track has a creative advisor. And this creative advisor meets with the filmmakers before they even arrive in LA to learn about their goals and what they want to achieve in the 5 weeks. We have with us one of our creative advisors from last year, April Speaks, who was with the creative development. So the creative advisor works with these filmmakers for the 5 before they come to LA and throughout their residency in LA. The creative advisor is the lead on each session when we are workshopping the project. But for each project, we also assign a US filmmaker to read the project or look at the documentary, somebody edit, and give feedback in a group session within the track. In addition to these track sessions, all the filmmakers who are participating are expected to read or watch the footage and also give feedback during these group sessions. Then each project also gets one-on-one meetings depending on their need. So it could be more feedback on your script, or it could be festival strategy, or for producers, maybe if I'm looking at your financial plan. So we had 24 last year, and we divided them into these tracks. But then there are sessions that are where we bring all the tracks together, and these are for master classes that can range from anything from developing your character to working with actors. We have a series of business of filmmaking classes, festival strategy, distribution marketing, and social impact. I think the highlight of there's a lot of highlights, we'll talk about that, but we have a retreat also in the middle of the residency, where this retreat is not necessarily about the project or the career, it's more about the filmmakers. And we'll talk more about what that means. And then we have 2 workshops within the residency. One is an iPhone workshop where you can, once you're selected to participate in the LA residency, you can apply to become part of this workshop, and you make a 1-minute film using an iPhone we give you with an American or US LA-based filmmaker about LA. So it's an LA in a minute. And then we also do have virtual reality, among other activities, cultural engagement, so that the filmmakers can enjoy also LA and experience the film. I think I covered it, right? A lot of field trips that we can talk about as well. And hiking, and then after the hike, going to a master class. Sometimes we get a lot of applications, and we can only bring a certain number to the LA residency. And then sometimes also filmmakers cannot commit to 5 weeks, so we have sometimes other options where we select these filmmakers to attend one of our film independent labs. So we have the producing, directing, screenwriting, TV series, and documentary labs that we can also select you to attend. And that's, for now, they have been virtual since the pandemic, but they might be back in person next year. And it's a shorter commitment for 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the lab. The cool thing about Global Media Makers is that it is a fully funded program. So if you are selected to participate in the LA residency or one of our labs, we cover all travel costs, we cover all accommodation, accommodation, transportation from the residence to the film go to the retreats. So yeah, it's fully covered. And we even also assist with visas. We don't issue the visas, but we do assist with the process, letting you know what you need to do. And once you're a Film Independent Fellow, you are a fellow for life. And with Global Media Makers, we can support you throughout the life of your project. So even after you leave the residency and you write another draft of your script, you can reach out to us and we can arrange for a Zoom feedback session with a mentor you've met or with someone else. If you shoot your film and you are in the post and you have a cut and you want an editor to see it, or your mentor or your creative advisor, we can arrange for a Zoom meeting so you can get feedback on your cut. We've had fellows reach out to us because they needed consultation on sound design, on legal issues, on festival strategy, and on advice when they were their country's submission to the Oscars. So they were their country's pick, so they wanted advice on how to navigate the award season. Okay. Because we work now with more than 50 countries around the world, we've always been by nomination, meaning that if you want to apply for GMM, you have to be nominated. So who nominates you? It's film organizations and filmmakers and the US Embassy in the country you're working in. So in South Africa, we traveled last year to meet film organizations like here in Cape Town again. But we also went to Johannesburg, to Pretoria. We're going to Durban after Cape Town to meet filmmakers or organizations, that can become nominators. But we start receiving more nominations also when we have filmmakers who are alums. So all our alums, whether they are from South Africa or Lebanon or Morocco, can nominate you to become a filmmaker. So if you meet the Global Media Makers Fellow, anywhere around the world, usually they are carrying their bags, and so you can identify. And then you can tell them about your project, and they can nominate you. You have to live in one of the countries and regions we are currently working in. So if you are from South Africa, but you live in the Netherlands, and that's where you're working, you're not eligible. So you have to be from the region and working in the region to be eligible, and you have to have a project that you're developing. So for fiction, you have to be able to submit a feature film script. It doesn't have to be the shooting script, it could be at any stage. Or for pilots, script pilots for TV series. For documentaries, we look for around 40 minutes of an assembly edit with your submission. And we accept any genre. So from serious dramas to horror and comedy, and doesn't science fiction. We had a dystopian science fiction project last residency. The common denominator is that we are looking for projects that have potential for social impact in the region you come from, but also that is tackling a social issue in your region. So that's the common denominator. You can choose any genre to tell that story. Let's see what else. Yeah, and part of the Global Media Makers mission is also to connect with more filmmakers, not only the ones we bring to LA. So this is why we travel a lot. I was in Istanbul, Beirut, Oman before Cape Town. We did workshops in these three cities, and in Amman we were also attending the Amman International Film Festival. My colleagues are right now in Venice meeting filmmakers there, and later this year we will be in Nigeria, and Tunisia, and Morocco. So we're traveling a lot, especially to platforms, so if you see us there, please come over, tell us about your projects. We'd love to hear from you. Successes. This is where I love to brag. Known to brag about the successes of this program at Film Independent. Since 2016, we've had more than 150 filmmakers from more than 20 countries attend the LA residency. We've worked with more than 450 US filmmakers as mentors, some in the LA residency and some also travel with us. We have had 8 residencies in LA. So even during COVID, we started one residency virtually, and they stayed with us for 2 years before we were able to bring them to LA, but we did. And then we've had several of our, so we've supported around like 65 projects since 2016. Of those, 24 have premiered. One is currently accepted in a festival. It's not announced yet, so really 25. And then we have around 8 that are in post-production and 8 probably in early production. So lots of success stories, and some of the films premiered in major film festivals around the world, like Cannes, Venice, Berlin, Toronto, Tribeca, Locarno, Cannes, but also important regional film festivals like Durban and Cairo, Goa, in India. Alright, so actually, let's go to the next one. I want to show you a clip that maybe at the end. Alright, let's open it up, because I'm sure you want to hear from the filmmakers firsthand. So our application is very competitive. Now that's also open to the world, it's become more and more competitive. It's a long application. Each project is reviewed by at least 2 internal and 2 external. We have 2 committees, 1 internal, 1 external. So each project is reviewed at least 4 times before we determine if it's shortlisted or not. So the application itself is read by several people. And it's a long application for those of you who have been nominated and will be starting this process. I wanted to ask our filmmakers, if you recall, I know it's been almost a year since you applied. How did you prepare for the application, and what was the application like, so that we give them some hints so that they can do it? Who wants to start?
I'll jump in. Hi everyone, my name is Yolanda. Before I go in, I just want to remind everyone, have little headphones behind you. If it gets a little bit loud, as it sometimes does, please feel free to put them on just to help you hear if no one's kind of loud enough. So the application was quite extensive. It took me a couple of days to fill it out. I think we were asked very specific questions about your project, but also about yourself. And kind of your outlook as a filmmaker. So it did take quite a while. It made me feel like I was applying for another Sundance thing, because those applications are also quite long and lengthy. But I think if you kind of sit down and take the time and just do it and do it well, then it's done. I applied with my producer Dominique. So I tried all of her information as well and everything else, but because we've been pitching so often and so much, we really had a lot of the information kind of already done and set, and only a few new things I had to write from the start, but it was quite lengthy, I will not lie. It took a couple of days, and I think it was via submittable and not like a direct email application. And everything, like the pitch deck, script, everything kind of just needs to be ready. Like you need to be ready for the next step, I felt, from that application.
I think what's also important is that while the application is about the project, it's also about you. So, what's wonderful about the program is that they're really interested in who you are, what your story is, not as much as what your relationship with the script is. Something, keep that in mind when you're writing out what could be your director's statement or your producer's notes.
I can't hear myself. Alright, yeah, I agree. This is also a very important part of the application. We want to know who you are as a filmmaker. So keep that in mind. So, you were selected, you were shortlisted, and then after you're shortlisted, we have an interview with you to get to know you more, and then, we notify you that you have been selected as a finalist and you're coming to LA. Let's talk about the track. So we have the four of you in one track, and Yolanda, you were in a different track. How was it working in your track and developing the project with the mentors you had, but also as a group?
So we were all together in one track, creative development, and it was quite interesting because we had our mentor Errol, and that went on for about 2-3 weeks, right? And that's where we got to delve into all the different stories, and we went into it and like what's it about, what do you want to get out of your story and everything. And part of that we had individual consultants to talk about our specific stories. So as Imran said, everything about Global Media Maker is quite well curated, and they really want to know about you. What are you about and what do you want to say and what do you want to get out of the group? So we all had different consultants, and we had like a full day where we actually just talked only about your story, which was very interesting. And we also got to learn about each other's programs, so I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and you were with filmmakers from different parts of the world, so South Asia, West Asia.
Yes. So in our group, for example, we had a guy from Bangladesh, and we also had another team that was doing a sci-fi from Jordan and UAE. So it was interesting to learn, as much as we know about each other and our backgrounds, it was interesting to learn about their countries as well.
Yeah, this was really a cross-cultural experience in that sense. Because I think as much as we have our own things that we struggle with here in South Africa, we learned that, hey, wait, these other guys also have things that they struggle with as filmmakers. So we exchange ideas. There's also opportunity for cross-collaboration, co-productions, which is so hard to forge when you're not able to speak to people in person. So this allows for that. And then our track, I was really struck by the mentors that came to speak to us. People that I've looked up to in the film and television space for a long time came to speak to us one-on-one, and we could ask them questions, and it was a very open, safe space to be able to really share and grow. And so that's one thing that I really enjoyed. And when I say, I don't mean actors, I mean producers and writers that came to speak to us. That was very, very, I appreciate that. It was very tailor-made to our projects and who we are.
And Quinton, you were with a TV series. How was that experience working with American showrunners?
Yeah. So I think for me, having been a bit of a full politician as coach of the IPO for the last 2 years, it was really refreshing to have this opportunity just to focus on creativity. And I have to admit that I echo what Dominique says, the caliber of the mentors that Global Media Makers provided and the feedback that we got was invaluable in terms of the notes we got, and also the extent to which the mentors went to actually read your project and give detailed critique that you could take or not take on board, but recognizing that every single note had been well thought out and interrogated. And that costs a lot of money if you employ a script editor or consultant. And we had this funded by Global Media Makers and the US State Department, which ordinarily for us as local filmmakers is something that we struggle to access. And from that perspective, I think both for me and my writer Jason, who's not here, we just took it all in. We lapped it up because it was so unprecedented in terms of what was available to us. And yeah, the writer's strike did help because we had access to all the top Hollywood writers on some of the best shows on HBO, Amazon, Netflix. They were all there, and they just rocked our world. So yeah.
The last residency we had filmmakers from 15 countries, and the retreat was a different kind of experience. And I think for Imran and for Khosie, you were in a different track for the retreat. How was the retreat for you and that experience?
So the retreat that Louay was talking about was a 3-day weekend retreat in Malibu, where a bunch of writers and projects were given just like a space, a house to workshop each script, and it was absolutely incredible. What happens is you get there, and not only have we analyzed these scripts for weeks on end, but we came into that space, and actors from Hollywood came in, and they would act out scenes from our scripts, and we workshop those scenes and act in our own film with those actors. It was just incredibly in depth, and I think it gave us insight into the story, the script. For me, directing the story, which is personal, is just invaluable. I don't think I would have been able to tap into those parts of myself in the story without having a personal situation where I had it reflected back in such a close experience.
Yeah. And Jolanda, you were in a completely different track. That's very special. It's usually our smallest track, the directing track. And you were working with Aman Abbas as a creative advisor. How was that experience for you? Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so the direction track was quite intense. I think even before you got to LA. So we had to select a scene from our existing script and really kind of see that we were hopefully going to kind of shoot once we were in LA. And so casting and all of that really began. So it was like a whole thing even before you got to LA. But it was good, because it made you really get to the crux of your film. Like choose a scene that in just one scene, someone could watch your film, watch that scene and what your film's about. So it was a nice challenge to do that. And then once we got to LA, it just kind of didn't really stop. Because again, like what everyone said, you're reading everyone else's scripts, and you're also watching all of the directors that are coming in, all of their movies, and all of them are all of these like Sundance directors, all of these like award-winning, people whose films I'd seen on TV. You guys like, oh, now you're here. And they talk about, oh, I've been asked to do a Will Smith movie or whatnot. I'm like, oh, those are the conversations you have, like, It was interesting just being in the room with those kind of individuals and kind of hearing about their processes, seeing what their lookbooks look like and things like that. And then, so in the middle of our retreat, we got to shoot a scene from our film. So when we were setting us up for the retreat, we were told, no, like it sounds like, look, we're going to have some actors because we did this whole casting thing. It was great to see how casting works in the US as well, and like they're skipping to Zoom now. But just interesting to see how all that is navigated. And it felt like literally just going to shoot these actors against like a white wall. But we get there and it's like, like a sound studio and it's like a whole set, whatever set that you needed for your scene has been built and all of that, which was really nice and incredible. Still, it's still like nature, but still like, my movie set in like rural KZN. So I had like mini huts, being made in the middle of like a sound studio. And it's still American voices and stuff, but it was still so like, it was fantastic. And I felt like I could experiment with the vision I have for my film, the tone, the look, and all of that from that experience in the retreat. It was quite intense, but it was nice. Like two days on set as part of the retreat and working on everyone else's scenes as well. And then you choose what you do with what you've shot after that. You get to keep it. And like professional, literally like LA crew, and you just have those 3 hours to kind of do what you need to do with your script, which is really, really great.
And you were all together in these master classes and business of filmmaking sessions. Do you have favorites of these? Something that stood out?
For me, I don't have one specific favorite because there was a lot of things. But for me, the biggest take was obviously because I'm a producer, I always wanted to learn more about how they go about the process of play. And what was interesting for me, like my biggest question was like, where do you find money, And how do you, how do you find investors and how do you keep those relationships? And what was interesting for me coming from South Africa is that in America they don't have structures like we do here in South Africa. And that was quite eye-opening because how can I put it? Like, I felt that we're actually so privileged in what we have here in South Africa. We've got a lot of resources. Whereas in America, they have to do everything for themselves from the ground. They have to find investors, they have to find this money. So for me, I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, there were a couple of people who spoke about that. And yeah, it was a lot.
So I can remember too, there was one, almost the opposite, the finance one, but the guy who came and talked to us about contracts and scripts. Contracts and kind of like agreements and things like that. I thought that was really, really interesting to see. It just gave us an insight into kind of the legalities or how stringent it can be in LA and what's needed and such. And I appreciated like a window into that. And I also, we had someone come in and kind of do a very thorough directing workshop with us. And I think with directing, you kind of get in set and you kind of do what you think you need to do, and everyone has their own vibe and their own style with how they approach things. But I appreciated some sort of methodology that he kind of broke down and kind of, okay, do this if this isn't working, do this, do that. It was nice to have something substantial to be like, oh, okay, here's a 3-pointer that I can kind of go to whenever I get stuck and try that. So those two for me stand out.
Yeah. I just want to add, there was a guy called Ted Hope actually. Ted Hope, you can check him out. He does podcasts and does a lot of stuff. And to actually have him standing in front of us talking about everything, I just wish we could hear from him like the whole day and wherever, That was quite exciting. And even people in America, like they respect him and they've never even met him. So it was intense.
And we also do some fun stuff. Cultural engagement. So it's not only, mostly it's serious and very intensive, 6 weeks, 6 hours at least a day, right? Not including lunches. But what about the other activities or the connections you made with these filmmakers from different parts of the world you would like to do?
Yeah, so I think the program was very well tailored in terms of these very intense master classes that we had. And then also allowing time just to connect, relax, and to explore LA. So we had a hike up to the Hollywood side. I'm gonna say this: we were all very excited. We enjoyed the hike, but when we got to the top, we were literally behind the sign. So we all wanted photos like in the O or like sitting on, but that's not realistic, So we were behind the gates. But anyway, we got our pictures and there were snakes as well. And then right after that, with all our dirty, muddy clothes, we went straight into a session with about the Oscars, one of the Oscars representatives. So that was quite interesting. But I mean, there was so much. We went to the Oscars Museum, which was really, really so great just to make it tangible, make it real for us. These things that we think about, we dream about. It's also a reality. It can be reality for us. There was just so many.
I loved the Hollywood Forever. We watched a film, Harold and Maude, in the cemetery at night. It was amazing. It was amazing, and it's like a whole thing in the summer, and the people just having their picnics there. And you were walking in, and it's like, okay, this is very strange. And it was overcast, so the moon was like shining. It was so surreal, and that for me, that was one of the things I really remember. I must say, no, I didn't mention it, but you do also get a good deal. So one of the things we did is we shopped. We did the red dollar, like, the exchange thing. We were like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. We are doing shopping. So we shopped first week and we shopped the last week as well. That was also a nice kind of,
Just,
and it's extra.
just for the record.
Yeah, examples of things that are important. Yeah, it's actually shoes.
For the record, the per diem is for transportation.
Well, you're not supposed to spend it on clothes.
No, you can spend it anyway. But that's why the per diem is there. The rate.
Can I just say something on Kidwell? And for anybody who wants to understand legal and contractual instruments in the film industry, this guy is an absolute expert. He's just finished a book, which I'm still waiting for a copy of, that deals with all of these things in the most succinct way. And what I appreciated was the way he summarized some of the key issues that we spoke about earlier. We had a panel discussion around how do you navigate that legal landscape as an independent creative and landscape. And I mean, as an independent creative producer, those are the challenges in terms of resources. And that book, I think if we can get copies here, is an invaluable resource. It's a tough read, but it's knowledge that's going to stand you in good stead for the rest of your career. And we don't have publications like that here in South Africa. So it's a worthwhile investment.
Thank you.
I just want to add a little bit. In the beginning, there was like an hour session where they were telling us about the activities that we're going to have. And when they mentioned that we're going to be watching a movie at the cemetery, I was like this movie. There's one with my mom saying there's no way I'm going. But somehow last minute I went and it was really amazing. You actually forget that you're at the cemetery. Just amazing.
It's magical.
Yeah. And also,
I like Pride Month.
yeah, I was going to say, in addition, okay, there was a lot, guys. In addition, it was gay pride. We went to a lot of marches. Went with Imran on the first one. We also did the bingo as well. There was a lot. The drag queen, that was fun, yes. We also went out to a lot of museums. We also, there was a lot, right? Pride Parade, I mentioned that one first, yes. But it was actually very nice. And on top of that, like mingling or bonding with the other filmmakers as well. Oh my gosh, like we still chat even now because we miss each other so much. Like 5 weeks staying in one hotel together, it just really connected us so much.
Yeah, so we pair the filmmakers into 2-bedroom apartments and all in the same residence in downtown LA. And I think Jeremy does a good job pairing the filmmakers from different parts of the world together. So Imran, I believe you were with someone from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And you were from someone from Jordan and Pakistan. Yes. So.
Can I just say that for me, what was an eye-opener is that filmmakers in those parts of the world really struggle. If you think we've got it bad in South Africa, they have no film funds, no incentive schemes. They have to go out there. And the most compelling aspect of our residency for me was the fact that the story is so important. The focus by the mentors on your story and getting that right, because that's what they go to market with, and that's what attracts investment and finance. And I think I have a renewed appreciation for the struggles that independent filmmakers have to face in places like Bangladesh, Pakistan, and even in America. They get no support from the government. So I came back humbled on that experience, knowing that as little money as the NVF gets, government does fund us. The IDC does have investment funding. So, yeah.
That was also one of the most special things about being in London. Being there for 6 weeks, you forged really close bonds with these filmmakers. And some of us are crying on the last night because we didn't want to say goodbye. And what's really cool is that a lot of these filmmakers, the two filmmakers that they come one heck of a piano. So these are filmmakers that you know on a personal level who are working at a high level. So they're going to be championing your work when you apply to someone, when you apply to Imran. So those connections are just incredibly valuable. It's important to kind of like on this situation.
Great. I think we have 5 minutes left, so if anyone has a question. Yes. So,
My name is Trisha. I'm from Botswana, and I just want to know. Oh, okay, good. Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to know. I saw on the website that there's a preference for people to apply as pairs. I want to understand a little bit more about that. But also, when you apply as a pair, I understand there's some pairs on stage right now, but they were in different tracks. So when you apply as a pair, that means that each one gets to do like something that's more aligned with their role.
it really depends on the project. So yeah, we encourage applicants to apply as team. So producer with a director, writer, or producer with a writer. That always works really well for the residency. Sometimes you are paired in the same track, and sometimes you are put in different groups, depending on the project. Yes.
So I have to say that I was quite surprised when I was separated from the director and we got there like, hey, we're not together, what's happening? But it was so good because I could focus on the creative development and really harness, that part of the filmmaking process, but also financing, distribution, the actual business model of our film on an international scale. And then Yolanda will focus on script and directing, and so we would have our after hours feedback to each other. So we're kind of doubling up on the experience, which is beneficial at the end of the day. So it works.
Just a follow-up question to her question. So does that mean that if a writer, director is there and producer, they cannot be part of the community?
One more time.
Does that mean that if a writer, director is their own producer, if it's one person, they stand a chance to become part of the program?
No, you can apply as an individual, and then usually if you're applying as an individual, it's better to apply as a writer-director because we want the person who's writing the script to workshop the script. We've taken producers on their own as well. So it just depends. We like teams, but it's open to individuals. So if you're nominated, apply.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing all of this with us. Could you just clarify the nomination process and how that functions or how it works?
Yes. So we work with a lot of organizations in South Africa who are familiar with what we do, and every year we open up the nominations, and so we reach out to these organizations. So it's like Realness, Gauteng Film Commission, to name a few. I don't want to miss anyone. And then our fellows, also we reach out to them to nominate, and then they send us their nominations. But then if you meet us at the platform like this, you can just let us know about your project, and we can also nominate you.
If I can just add,
yes.
So we were nominated by Film Festival. Our film had gotten into actually, and they nominated us for I think a documentary project. And we're like, no, we've got a fiction that we're doing. Can we do this? And then and that's what we went through. So I think it was also a film festival, and the festival director who we say hi to every time we see her. So I guess this is why events like this and the networking is good. Not that you have to schmooze your way through everything, but just to say hi to people, like hi, this is me, this is what I do, this is my name, just that they know that you exist.
Absolutely, and we see cross-regional nominations. So a filmmaker, a producer from Lebanon has just nominated someone from Uganda. So it doesn't have to be, So if you are, let's say, at the Cairo International Film Festival and you meet one of our fellows there, they can, and they like their project and believe in what you're doing, they can nominate you too.
Can I just say that in the context of the amount of people applying, and that we actually, for us as South Africans, it is a real privilege to be selected. Out of, I think, more than 300 applicants, they selected 20, and the team that came from South Africa, I think we never understood the magnitude of the impact that this experience will have from a creative development point of doing. And just the networking and the linkages that we have access to as alumni of GMM, I think is unprecedented. And it's definitely a game changer. I think for me personally, but also if I can be so bold and speak, say, collectively as well.
We have room for one more question. All right, so thank you so much for joining us and hearing about our program, and stay in touch and let us know if you want to